on November 3rd, 2020, I didn't host my usual program. Instead, like so many Americans who care about the future of our country, I was closely watching the election results in real time, live, on air with the Epoch Times' sister media, NTD Television, during their election night coverage.
2020 has been kind of the year of unpredictability.
And by midnight, Trump and Biden had won their expected strongholds. Trump had won the key swing state of Florida, which has 29 electoral college votes.
If the trajectories don't change, Trump looks like he has a pretty strong victory.
Trump is so far ahead right now, it seems Biden doesn't have enough room to grow in terms of electoral votes.
Then something unexpected happened.
It does seem that the results are just frozen, too. There's nothing new is being declared right now.
Counters have gone to bed?
Yeah, no, it does seem that way, actually.
The swing states where Trump was holding a lead, Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, Georgia, they suspended their vote count or postponed counting mail-in ballots, and it happened almost simultaneously. This inevitably delayed the final result. Then just after midnight, at 12:49 a.m., Trump sent a tweet. And then around 2 a.m., he appeared at the White House to proclaim an impending victory and to announce that his campaign would take the election fight to the Supreme Court.
We want the law to be used in a proper manner. So we'll be going to the U.S. Supreme Court. We want all voting to stop. We don't want them to find any ballots at 4 o'clock in the morning and add them to the list.
He's suggesting there was fraud that took place, that the American people were defrauded by changes possibly made to the election system. This is going to go to the Supreme Court. We'll have to see whether these ballots are counted, the ones that are still pending, presumably. We'll have to see whether election fraud took place, as Trump seems to be alleging here.
At 4 a.m. on November 4th, exhausted spectators were in a deep slumber, and America was in the pitch black of night. But the sun came up with another surprise. Trump's lead in several key swing states had disappeared.
I've flipped on the news earlier this morning. We started looking like it's going more Biden.
And what was more unusual was that Wisconsin and Michigan had resumed counting around 4 a.m. and 6 a.m. And both states showed a sudden spike in votes, over 100,000 votes in each state, nearly all for Biden. It wasn't long before Biden's large deficit behind Trump became a small but sustained lead, which was declared a Biden victory by most mainstream media on November 7th, even though no state had certified its results and no electors had been appointed.
The election hasn't officially ended, but the Trump campaign says they're suing in a number of states, which could potentially change the election results we have now.
Second by second, I had watched the voting data come in on election night, and the count that came in on the morning of November 4th just didn't add up. What exactly happened before dawn on November 4th? Not a single news agency provided an explanation, and the opinions portrayed by the public on social media and the announcers on mainstream media were in huge opposition.
There is no evidence that
President refusing to concede the election, repeating his baseless claims that the election was a fraud.
How are they impacting people there in Georgia who have another runoff election to look forward to?
In violations of Michigan election law.
Meanwhile, at the White House, President Trump spent his holiday continuing to push baseless claims about voter fraud.
It's certainly not easy to separate fact from fiction when it comes to allegations of election fraud, but it is clear, especially with the ongoing legal process, that the mainstream media prematurely declared Biden the winner.
NBC News now projects that Joe Biden won the
presidential election.
Without investigating it themselves, they hastily denied any fraudulent activity in this election, which had a historic turnout. I have to ask, where is the independence, the objectivity, and the professionalism that we expect from the news media? The New York Times sources its voting data from Edison Research. Edison receives real-time election data from each state office directly, including from voting systems. Analyzing this data, I calculated the percentage of votes obtained by Trump and Biden against the total votes counted. And I found that on November 4th, within 7 seconds, after 6:31 a.m., Michigan saw a sudden influx of 149,722 votes, of which 141,258 votes, or 94.3%, were for Biden. Only 4% were for Trump. This abnormal spike in votes directly resulted in Biden closing the gap in Michigan and then overtaking Trump. Checking the New York Times election database, I saw Wisconsin also displayed similar abnormalities. During the 5 minutes between 3:37 and 3:42 a.m. local time, 168,386 votes were tallied, of which 143,379, or 85%, were for Biden, and 25,163, or 14.9%, were for Trump. Before that 5 minutes, Trump had always been in the lead. This abnormality reversed the situation in Wisconsin and gave Biden the lead. In the currently contested Wisconsin results, Biden leads Trump by only 20,608 votes. Yet at 3:42 a.m. on November 4th, Biden received a peculiar influx of 143,379 votes. More swing states, such as Pennsylvania, Georgia, and Arizona, all had similar anomalies in their election vote count. Yet despite these abnormal statistics surfacing one after another, the mainstream media have continued to present only one-sided interpretations that clearly favor Biden. The gap between reports of mainstream media and the actual data really puzzles me. But what is even more puzzling is the difference between the number of votes received by Biden versus the Senate Democratic candidates. According to a Pew Research Center survey, a significant majority of Trump and Biden supporters indicated that they will vote for the Senate candidate of the same party. And the results from the traditionally blue Democratic states and the Republican states in this election certainly confirmed the survey results. In the non-swing states of Maine, Delaware, South Dakota, and Wyoming, Trump and Biden's votes are not equal to those of senator candidates from their respective parties, but the gap is small in comparison. However, in swing states, Biden's vote count far eclipsed that of the Senate Democratic candidates. For example, in Michigan, Biden received 69,093 more votes than the Democratic candidate Gary Peters. This is almost 10 times more than the 7,131 vote count difference between Trump and the Senate Republican candidate John James. The case in Georgia is even more exaggerated, where the vote count between Biden and the Senate Democratic candidate differed by 95,801 votes. That is 117 times the 818 vote count variance between Trump and the Republican candidate. What do these abnormal differences illustrate? They indicate that in swing states, a large number of voters only voted for Biden, but not the Democratic senator. This possibility does exist, but if such a phenomena only appears in swing states and on such a large scale, what does it mean? In 2020, the Cook Political Report and the New York Times listed 27 seats in the House of Representatives as having unpredictable results. At present, Republicans seem to have won all of those 27 seats, and Democrats have not been able to overturn any of the Republican House seats. In New Hampshire, the Republican Party simultaneously overturned the seats in the State House of Representatives and the Senate, and expanded its majority position in the state assembly nationwide.
I want the votes to be counted.
Every vote counts, and every vote should be counted. Absolutely.
I'm going to keep looking into some of what's been happening. We're going to keep interviewing people about the allegations of election fraud, seeing what we can find.
With so many abnormalities, I had to find more answers. Is it possible these are the result of mail-in ballots? Due to the CCP virus this year, mail-in ballots were used widely throughout the United States, and this is the biggest difference between 2020 and past elections. Just how much did mail-in ballots affect the integrity of the 2020 elections? I was determined to find out.